So here I was, sitting in my room, minding my own business, when the ethereal, unavoidable thought enters my mind that all humans have and must confront in their daily lives. What should a PlayStation All-Stars 2 battle system look and play like? Take a seat, grab some chalky milk, and cozy up to your imaginary fireplace as your old pal Novagun here explains what he thinks would be the mathematically correct way to create a PlayStation All-Stars 2 fighting style. It will be broken down into 6 sections: the original, pros; the original, cons; combos, neutral, supers, and class system. Timestamps for those inclined are on the video. As far as the combat of the first All-Stars goes, it was a weird beast to wrangle. On one hand, it genuinely felt like a party brawler that you kind of just mash buttons with and unga-bunga your way to victory like most pump-stomping Radix using their sniper rifle to terrorize anyone under level 150. However, when you really start putting some time into it, some combos were deceptively deep and hard to execute online. Most felt fun to create and lab around with, and AP burst combos I think was a good congrats serotonin injection to finishing a lengthy combo that keeps people from being juggled into the air by a circus clown who solved the issue of perpetual motion. And its Oki, when it was the focus of the character, was quite fun to mess around with. You, not you, and you were good examples of this. Though not overly complex with lows, mids, and highs, each hit landed or blocked normally felt great to use and generally fair to escape. The additions of air dodges and wake-up rolls were a good way to get inside the head of your opponent, whether you be on the damage-inflicting or receiving side. I think that should be transferred over and even spotlighted in the characters both returning and new. The bad. Look, we all know in our heart of hearts that even if you liked the super system in the first game, like I did, it was a pretty dookie concept in general. Having the only way to kill being supers, and Medusa's decapitated head, made things complicated for 1v1s and pretty unsatisfying for a neutral game. The thrill of the neutral game was removed and backloaded to the supers so that if you knew that the character you're facing only goes for level 3s, it got pretty resident sleeper to play and watch. Which segues into another poor point of the original All-Stars. It was a bore to watch. Like, watching a tournament was pretty lame even if you were really into the game. The sound design, though accurate, lacked a lot of punch that other fighting games do. Just compare these two examples. All-Stars, in contrast, made hits feel like they were being done by an elastic sticky hands you would get from a gumball machine. A lot of the moves also visually weren't all that appealing, nix a couple few like Dante and Kratos. Now I'm not saying go to the level of J-Star's particle effects, but some extra oomph would be welcome. The fact that most competitive games were played on a literal test square with no platforms didn't help either. Combos. For the most part, I think combos should have their mechanics carry over to a sequel. The base concept of semi-hard or lengthy combos that end in a burst is an appealing idea to me. Additionally, I think that not every character needs 25 AP burst combos in their kit, and some can focus in on other ways to get the hits in, either by having harder hitting regular moves like Zeus or AP generation like Parappa. However, this needs to be balanced more in the sequel to be far more equitable. One of the reasons why Sir Daniel was so bad, so ungodly bad, in the original, is that not only did he have no reliable burst combos, but also his level 1 didn't consistently link into anything except a wall bounce, and came out as dumb an angle as a literary analysis on Roly-Poly Ollie for a college dissertation. That is where I make a little bit of a controversial change. Make sure every character has at least one link into a level 1 super confirm. Now, some may be a little upsetty spaghetti about that, saying it reduces the variety of gameplay, but if we look to nearly any other fighting game out there, this is the norm. Additionally, I think it's the easiest fix to shrinking the gap between an S-tier character like Cat and a D-tier character like Sir Dan. Not only would it be simple, but it wouldn't be overly breaking FFAs either. Just take Jack as evidence. In one of the final patches, Jack was given a level 1 confirm. That was a major part of making him a good character instead of low tier, while it barely impacted his ability in the FFA mode. It just makes too much sense to me. Neutral. As mentioned in the cons section, neutral could sometimes be a bit of a bore, but where it shined in Oki, it really shined. So to improve upon the neutral, I think soft commitment should be prioritized a bit more for the more combo-centric characters. Now, many may be thinking, but wait, one of the issues is that everyone was taking up defensive positions in All-Stars to chip meter. Wouldn't this incentivize it? Well, originally I thought so too, but then I thought that a lot of characters who needed to get up close and personal with poor Oki had ungodly amounts of problems versus the zoner characters like Sackbutt over here. With more options to soft commit, it would speed up neutral and incentivize more aggressive play, which would be needed considering another change I would make in the next section. Supers. I loved the idea of level 1 through 3 supers in the game. Just like a standard fighting game, it made you think differently about each matchup and made for a fun variety of big, impactful moves. Additionally, in most cases, it balanced out zoners with close-range characters because the zoners would still need to hit their supers to make use of their advantage, which incentivized aggressive play. It's like adding just the right amount of spice to your chili to zest things up. I think that the 3-tiered system should stick around, but supers should not be the only way to kill. Full stop. When people complained about All-Stars, this is always on the list, every single time. I, for one, agree with the premise and think that a more traditional kill dynamic should be implemented. However, I personally think that going full copy on Smash Bros. By adding in ringouts would be a mistake. Instead, I would like it to be based on health, and I'll explain why. All-Stars already tried to get close to being as much as a traditional 2D fighter than pretty much any other party brawler on the market. Its combo system, movement, and multiple super system I think are all ample evidence to this. But for whatever reason, they didn't want to add health bars, which is like having the right spice with the wrong ingredients. Instead, for All-Stars 2, the focus should be about doing damage to the opponent in whatever way possible that includes normal hits. I still like the idea of supers being a primary draw doing a ton of damage, so what I'll propose is that level 1 supers, depending on cost and ease of usage, do anywhere between 25% and 50% of the health bar. Similarly, level 2 supers should be somewhere around 50 to 80% of the health bar. I think keeping that level 3 supers killing outright would be the best way to go, considering that they would be less attractive to get if you're going to get pummeled by normals anyways. This would also allow for another way to balance characters if they get overtuned. Raiden getting too dominant with his level 1, hit him with the Nerf bat and cut the damage on it down to 30% instead of 40%, instead of completely changing the mechanics of it. Classes. Here's where my spiciest take comes in. In Smash, weight is a factor to your character, which plays into the matchup and how you should navigate a fight, but I think this is too limiting. In other games, we've seen the holy trinity of tank, DPS, and healer seep its way into FPSs like Apex Legends to create more varied interactions. In other games, like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, instead of opting for just an X Factor, which by Deadpool's own admission is anime power-up time, like in MVC3, the Infinity Stones were added. This gave a myriad of different effects on the gameplay that were far more engaging and interesting than just doing more damage. With that in mind, classes would be a great way to put a fun twist on the traditional fighting game's mechanics. For any poor and unfortunate souls who've played League of Legends, the idea of runestones would be used here. My ideas for these classes would be Grappler, Rushdown, Lightweight, and Juggernaut. But the big difference is you can equip these classes like you would assists in versus games. So let's say you want your throws to gain a bounce for combos or have a grab in the air. You can take the class Grappler to allow your character to do as such. Can't get in on those pesky ratchets spamming his rifle and bombs? Take Rushdown, which allows your character to increase its base movement speed on the ground and gives your dodges longer distances. Feel you do your best work in the air? Then take a course in Lightweight, which gives you an extra jump and increased directional control in the air. Need some extra punch through in your attacks? Juggernaut allows a select few moves to be charged up with super armor. Now, I'm no game designer, so some of these may bring the apocalypse and rain hellfire on Earth for how broken they could be, but the premise remains the same, just change the effects. Have a system which allows your character to take indirect buffs like an assist, which focus on mechanics and not just adding more damage to moves. It adds variety, easy to understand complexity, and player choice, which are all wins in my book. With these changes, I think a sequel to All-Stars can become a great game that actually has some staying power. Personally, I have no delusions of getting a roster the size of Smash Ultimate, but if the mechanics can both be unique and engaging with, let's say, 36 characters instead, a lot of long-time and new fans would be more than happy with an All-Stars 2, and the game would finally be able to stand on its own two legs for once, instead of constantly living in Smash's shadow. Thanks for watching.